Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I'm Sam.
I'm not here.
And I'm Trish.
And today we'll be continuing our coverage of the Devil, playing episode 1 until we reach the courthouse. But before we get started, how is everyone's week? And why isn't Bernard here?
So my name is Bernard. Work has been fucking insane for like a month now, and it's not as horrible as it was for a while, but it's still a lot, and also other stuff has been going on. And so I need a break from the podcast. I wasn't able to finish Of the Devil in time, or finish the section of it in time. So I will not be joining for Of the Devil. After we talk about our weeks, I'm going to leave and never come back until Digimon.
At least you'll be here for the important game.
Yes, until Digimon comes back, then I will return. But yeah, it's been crazy. I had my car in the shop for almost a week because I had to get some stuff repaired. I think I mentioned before the air conditioning was completely broken and there's just lots of stuff. But the good news is they finished the repairs faster than they expected, and they were like, oh yeah, it took less labor than we expected, so the cost is going to be about $500 less than we quoted you. And I was like, cool.
Love that.
It's still a ton of money. Mm-hmm. So if you want to buy a visual novel, I'm selling one. It's called Possum Boy, The Ballad of Joey Virginia. It's on Steam and Itch. I would appreciate it if people bought it and gave me money, because, wow.
I believe it was famed podcast host Trish's Game of the Year 2025. At least one of them
it's true.
Brought up on the podcast.
Because my car was in the shop, I had to take a ride share. So I schedule the ride share in the ride share app, and I'm waiting. It says it's going to be like 13 minutes until they arrive. And then as I'm waiting, I get a message that's like, I'm your driver, so-and-so. I'm in this kind of car. And I'm like, okay, you didn't have, I'm just thinking you didn't have to tell me that. The app tells me that already. But cool, you're communicating. That's good. And I wait longer, and then the driver texts me in the app saying, yeah, I'm not going to do that drive. I won't make enough money on it. And I'm like thinking, I don't know what to do in this situation. He says, please cancel and order a smaller vehicle that uses less gas. And I'm just thinking, I can't choose what kind of vehicle they send me. I don't know what to do. I'm freaking out. Something unexpected has happened, and I don't like when that happens. And so I'm like, okay, I'll see if I can cancel it, I guess. So I go to cancel it, and it's like, there's going to be a big fee if you cancel now because it's been a while since you ordered the rideshare. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do. And then I look up and I see the car down the street, and it turns around and drives away. And in the app, it's like, you're on your way. You're going. You're in the car.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, no, I'm not. So then I'm having to try to deal with an AI customer service bot,
God,
which doesn't work. But eventually I get a refund. But the whole process does waste like 45 minutes of my time.
God damn.
It was weird. I don't like ride shares. I don't like taking them. I don't like that they exist.
Yeah, no, it's pretty awful.
The replacement ride share that came to pick me up was a Tesla. Y'all ever try to open the door on a Tesla?
Did you break it?
No, I didn't break it. But it's so weird. It's like a panel that's completely flush with the door, and you have to press in one side, and then like a smooth tube flips out the other side, and you pull that, and it's just doing the same thing as a regular car door, but it's weird and more difficult and seems like it would break more easily.
Oh, it does. That's why I said, did you break it? Because famously, the doors break all the time.
And then when we arrived, I went to pull the handle to open the door like you do on any car, and there was no handle. And I was just like, And the guy was like, oh, yeah, you press that button there. And I'm like, why do I press a button to open a door? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's almost like it's really poorly designed or something.
Yes.
Speaking of rough experiences, so I have a girlfriend visiting at the moment. In fact, she's currently in the room with me as I'm recording.
Wow, you just called your girlfriend a rough experience.
No, she's great. She's great. The rough experience was getting her here. So she was supposed to land Wednesday at like 7:30. I get off work at 5:30. So that gives us time to drive over to Boston and pick her up, bring her back, and still maybe have some time for other things to happen that night. The flight gets delayed 4 hours.
Jesus.
And I say that not like like it just kept gradually getting pushed back and back and back and back over the course of the day, and the delays just compounded.
Mm-hmm.
And like by the time we left, it was only a 3-hour delay, but by the time we got to the airport, it'd become a 4-hour delay.
God.
If they just tell you it's a 4-hour delay up front, you could just settle in and watch Fellowship of the Ring's Extended Edition, and it wouldn't be as bad. But slow delays adding up, you can't plan around that.
So she got in like just before midnight, and we didn't get back home until like 1:40 in the morning.
Ugh.
Yeah, that was rough, but she's here now, and I'm happy, and it's good. But that sucked, and it also really feels like it's really fucked up my schedule, work-wise, sleep-wise, stuff like that. Also, just, I've been having a good time at work, but also struggling a bit at work. I've told my co-hosts why. I'm not gonna say all this, I'm not gonna air this shit out on the podcast, but let's just say I have some upset feelings towards the library director about some choices regarding what is okay at the library and what isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it is honestly bad enough that I had a coworker be like, "Hey Trish, there's a high school in the area that's hiring for a high school librarian, and you're qualified if you wanted to go do that." Because she could tell I am like kind of fed up, and I am kind of considering it because it would be a huge pay jump.
Yeah.
And that would kind of rule.
Yeah, you could be the cool librarian, Mrs. Trish.
Mm-hmm. With a side shave and shit.
Hell yeah. You're gonna be the crush of so many teenage boys.
I feel like I'm so sorry. No.
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 Absolutely not.
No. How's your week been, Sam?
So I guess there's a theme of schedule craziness. So yesterday, Friday, was supposed to be our monthly Pathfinder game. And I'm starting this sentence with supposed to be, so that's fun. So for my birthday, my partner Jinx got me one of those. The pun is too clever. It doesn't work saying it out loud because it's called adaptable top. It's stupid. But and so I have one of those, and I figured out that my former 4K monitor for work that was too big and was hurting my neck fits exactly in where if I take two of the panels out. And so I'm like, oh shit, should we move Pathfinder to physical? And everyone said yes. So I started doing that. This is if you haven't been watching, you didn't watch 9 episodes of Digimon. This has been a saga. So catching up to right now. So to move us from all digital to physical, I had to like print out everyone's character sheets, because the last time we played physical they were only level 1, but now they're level 3, so I'd have to go into Foundry, copy all their stuff down to put it in physical. I was moving Foundry from, since we're not going to be using it, I moved it from the internet accessible paid one that I pay $5 a month for to just throwing it on my server, since I just need it from the dining room to my living room sort of thing. And so I was resetting, I was doing a lot of stuff, I was trying to get it all going, and then I found this resource called I think it's either dyslexicsheets.org or dyslexic character sheets, but they have them for a whole bunch of different RPGs don't want their character sheets to be overwhelming, so they don't want it to be 5 pages, so they squeeze 10 pages worth of stuff into 4 pages, and then it becomes overwhelming in a different way. And so dyslexic character sheets spreads it back out and turns the Pathfinder 2 character sheet from, I think it's 4 pages officially, into over 13 pages, but it adds in so many reminders. So it's like, oh, you're bard spellcasting, you're a prepared spellcaster, and here's the basics of that you should be doing every long rest. It even gives you like the vibes of like what your role should be. So it's like, you should never be running up and punching anything. If you're doing that, if something went horribly wrong, use all of your spells to make the barbarian and fighter critical. That's your job. And a lot of really cool stuff like that. And so I was setting it up for my bard, who has the martial archetype and is a gripply, which is a frog. And it had all of those things, which are not a bard is common, but martial and gripply are not common. And I'm like, awesome, it has all of this detail. It's going to work because this is the craziest character that we have. Ha 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 ha. So I struggle with it for a while because it asks you a whole lot of different questions that, like, I know what the answer I want is, but I don't know what it means in the character sheet because I haven't seen all the options before. And it just will ask you something like, do you want to use Die Hard or not? And I'm like, well, no, but does that make the first sheet look different? And then I could use that for home room for homebrew or something. Like so I had, it took me a while, but I was all doing it for my frog bard so that I would get everything exactly the way I wanted it. And it took me a while, and I figured it out. And I was fighting with my printer a lot because only in some apps am I allowed to adjust the margins when it prints, which is stupid. You would think that would be a normal ass thing. So I took forever, and I struggled, and I finally got it all printed. And I'm like, all right, this is awesome. I got the frog bard out of the way. Now let me go to my really basic thing. It's one of the most common ways that people play the game. Let me do an elemental rage barbarian with the kineticist of archetype. Those are common things. Elemental barbarian is what it sounds like. When you go Super Saiyan to go barbarian, you have elemental theming, and then a kineticist is a bender from Avatar. And so those go together really well. They have special rules. Like if you are a kineticist, like in the barbarian thing for elemental, it's like, and if you're a kineticist archetype, your kineticist stuff works for the barbarian in this particular way. So like they are a match made in heaven. It's normal. It had neither the elemental rage barbarian or the kineticist in it. And
Ugh.
so then I was like, because like if I didn't have this for, say, my partner Cass, they play RPGs all the time. So me giving them a basic one that instead of giving their spell or their actions, it says page number 45. That wouldn't phase them. But my barbarian is Summer's partner, Andy, who this is his first ever time playing a TTRPG at all, and we only do it once a month, so he's played probably 10 times total his entire life. He needs the detailed one, and the detailed one didn't work for him. So then, of course, I checked, and it did not have Starlit Sentinel with the archetype that Summer's doing, which is Magical Girl, because Pathfinder, you can be a magical girl, and it's really cool.
That's pretty cool.
And then it didn't have the fairy, which is what Cass's character is. So like I ended up not being able to use that for anybody. So then I was looking for other options of character sheets, and it was a whole comedy of error, wasting so much paper, printer paper. The Storm is addicted to paper airplanes right now, so I just added it all to his paper airplane stack. So I'm recycling. I'm not actually wasting the paper. But I was like, okay, well, if I can't get them this big one, are there any that are like zine sized, so they can have like pocket portfolios, and then I could make them like handmade journal, and that could be their D&D journal, and then their character sheets fits inside of it. It'll be super cute. So I find one on Drive-Thru RPG, and then when I print it out, it's not in quarter page zine where there's room to write things. It's an 8th page zine, which no, you can't fit a whole ass, you can't write RPG stuff on 1/8 of a page. It's stupid and bad. And so that didn't work, and I was so stressed getting everything ready. And because I was so stressed, I barely got anything done at work this week. I let so many of my like chores slide at the house because nothing was going right the way I wanted it to, and I really wanted my players to enjoy this so that we don't have to keep switching how we play this game. It's like the 4th time since we've started. And so I finally get everything sorted, and I'm setting up on Friday morning, and 3 of the 4 of my players got a cold and had to cancel.
Wow.
And
That
so
is...
it'll be next week now. So it really sucked.
Did you like piss off a god of fate or something?
Probably, which is weird because as I said on the after show last week, like the god of probability and chaos is the only god in my homebrew setting. It's like I am literally writing a holy text about you. Why are you so mean to me? But In order to stave off the week-long ADHD wait mode that was pending starting yesterday, I went ahead and set up as if it was going to happen last night, and I'm not touching it for a week. I'm ready for Friday now, and it's Saturday. It's the only way I could get through all of that, and that sucks. And that doesn't even go into my week at work was extra shitty because as I said last week, I turned in and was finally done with that big project I was working on. And ha ha ha, no, I'm not. When I handed it off to the data person, they were like, all right, these are the things we need to track to be able to, like, these are what we need from the data. And none of those are what they asked me to build in the app. So I'm basically just barely starting, which is stupid. And it's been a rough ass week. But the week ended with me playing Of the Devil, and that was great. And I'm going to spoil that now. So we're going to listen to some music, and Bernard is going to get out of here.
And then there were two.
And then there were two.
Okay.
All right, so what are all of these hot lesbians up to, Trish?
Well, it's been a year since we started this game with episode 0. Originally, my notes said a few months, and then I actually double-checked. It's been a year. So let's start with a little refresher on this game. Of the Devil is set in the year 2086, in a cyberpunk society with all of the classics. Androids, holograms, cybernetic body parts, horrific wealth inequality. Our protagonist is Morgan, a defense attorney who takes the risk of defending people against the almighty state because she's obsessed with gambling. Oh, and she's also a serial killer, and most recently was given the name the Heartbreak Killer by the media.
And importantly, since we're already spoiling that they're a serial killer, they were the killer in the first case.
Yes, she was the killer of the first case. Yeah. Before we delve into any new stuff, a few other terms just so we're all on the same page. Mods in the setting refers to any body modification like cybernetic eyes or artificial limbs. Megs are mega corporations, and ads are automated dependents, a catch-all term that refers to androids, smart UIs, and interactable holograms. We begin this new episode on a lovely Saturday morning here in our big nameless city. Punks throw a bottle at an android cop and make him bleed pink. A guy at a charging station forces everyone around him to listen to his political opinions. Everywhere you look, ads are working dutifully and happily for the humans around them. And our protagonist is in a very similarly fantastic mood. Why is Morgan so happy? Well, she killed someone last night, and now she's out to go buy a gun. She has a brief conversation with an android officer, the one I mentioned previously, who is Officer L30, aka Leo. And he has his pink oxidizing fluid dripping down his face. But she salutes him and goes off to the local gun store. Once Morgan gets to the gun store, she is greeted by another desk hologram, though to her annoyance, this one is desk setting number 6, the cool one. It is up to you how blunt or circumspect Morgan is in her handling of this conversation, but either way, Morgan ends up buying a mag rail handgun that not only has all sort of tags on it, meaning that it gives her away whenever she fires it, but it also turns off automatically in no fire zones. But that seems to be exactly what she's looking for. While she's waiting on a gun to be auto-factored right there in the store, you're given some time to look around if you want, which gives you a chance to uncover a news story about a hacktivist named Lobo, or to learn about some more about warm androids, the ones that are so lifelike, that evidently one of them was able to transfuse its oxidizing fluid, which is definitely not blood, into a human soldier to save their life. Eventually, Morgan has to turn her attention to the television, where there is some breaking news. Dr. David Asher, the famous programmer from Noble Electronics who created the Turing solution and is credited as the father of nearly every ad in existence, has just died. This does not affect Morgan as any random celebrity death would. No, for some reason it hits her hard. She refuses to believe it at first, thinking it must be some kind of cover-up or false news. And when the desk starts to show some signs of grieving over its indirect creator, Morgan commands it to stop and to switch to being business only so she can finish her purchase and go home. On the walk back to her residence, Morgan starts musing philosophically about guns and death and finality. Once in her apartment, she looks at the gold lighter that she uses to light her cigarettes, a gift from a friend, and suddenly remembers that it came with a card, one that she saved. She finds it and rereads the card, but stops before she gets the name on who sent it. But, like, you're a smart listener, so I'm pretty sure you can guess who the friend in question was, had a name that starts with a D and ends with an Avid Asher. Before you can ponder too much on how Morgan knew this famous programmer, Morgan gets a call. It's from Jessica Starling, David's personal assistant. At first, Jess only seems to be calling so she can tell Morgan about David's passing, but once it's clear that she already knows, Jess gets down to the real meat and potatoes. David asked her to deliver something into Morgan's hands, and now that he's dead, it seems like the least she can do to honor that final request. Only catch is, what they need is in his basement safe, and David's apartment is now crawling with suits and cops. Jess arrives in a cab, one that starts taking the two women towards David's penthouse. Before they can get very far, Morgan gets texts from a contact in her phone labeled Witch, a woman named Victoria Masters, who seems to be both her mentor as an attorney and her aunt. She's horrible, and I love her, and I hate her.
Yes, correct.
You could not get farther away from Mia Fey if you tried. Once her aunt is done dispensing dubious advice and teasing Morgan over her time as a paralegal at Master's firm, Morgan puts her phone away and just starts talking to her a little about David, giving us our first peeks through their memories of what kind of man he was. And then they reach his house, a Noble-owned building that has an army of protesters outside, barely being kept out by cops and androids and android cops.
Did you mention that the company was called Noble?
I don't think I did. Make it
Okay,
clear.
yeah.
I know I did. I did mention Noble Electronics is who he worked for.
Okay, yeah.
I did
So the building is not Noble. The building is owned by the Noble Corporation.
Yes. David's role in the history of ads has made him the center of not only a lot of controversy, but also quite a few conspiracy theories. That's for later, though. For now, one of the two detectives we met last case, Detective Qasim London, is here. It takes a bit, but the old guy finally cottons on to Morgan's appearance here being due to personal matters rather than business, and he makes sure the women get to the basement, which is evidently not anywhere close to where they think that David Asher killed himself. Oh, did I forget to mention that? Right now they're ruling David's death a suicide. Heading into the basement, Morgan and Jess find a vault door that needs to be opened to retrieve whatever David wanted Morgan to find, but it's protected by a passcode. Looking around will help you find the 6-digit code. It's the date connected to a big stupid painting that overlooks the room and that Morgan misidentifies as cubicle? I love that joke so much. That done, the safe opens to reveal a sleeping android girl. Morgan has no idea how to turn it on, so she digs around David's lab for a bit. In the process, Morgan finds a state-of-the-art 3D printer, a bunch of diagrams on neurons and other parts of the human anatomy, and a computer that has Morgan's DNA and fingerprints on file, which shocks the hell out of her, because our resident serial killer has made sure no database on Earth has her DNA and fingerprints. She made sure of it. Evidently, her friend must have swabbed a glass that she drank out of or something. Cool behavior, dude.
Mm-hmm.
The obvious answer for how to turn on the android is by somehow using Morgan's DNA and or fingerprint. But where? We have several options, and a lot of them are funny, but the result turns out to be sticking her finger into the android's mouth.
See, I didn't get to see any of the funny ones because lesbians
guessed
are
immediately?
awesome. No,
Yeah.
because lesbians are awesome. And when it was like, where would the on button be? And it said her mouth. I'm like, oh my God. They talked about DNA. She has to kiss the robot. And then she doesn't kiss the robot. And I
No,
got
yeah. The android introduces herself as Sarah Asher, and she refers to David exclusively as her father. Jess ends up heading out to give Morgan and Sarah some privacy once Sarah asks for it, and it's there that she informs Morgan that her friend intended for her to take over taking care of Sarah from here on out. Morgan's not sold on that, and things get worse when Sarah learns that David's dead. The android is distraught, and more than that, she does not respond to any of Morgan's commands to, stop emoting so much, the same thing she was doing to the desk hologram earlier. Instead, Sarah starts badgering Morgan about how her father would never commit suicide, and how this has to be looked into. They gotta discover the truth. Morgan can see how big this case is going to be, and she is not interested in sticking her nose into it, especially when the added scrutiny could end up revealing her criminal acts. But then Sarah plays her trump card. Her father had mentioned that Morgan owed him a favor, so now Sarah is calling it in. Morgan goes ice cold the moment that Sarah tries this, but Sarah is not deterred. She's willing to cancel out Morgan's need to take care of her, throw that favor away just so she does this one. She'll find her own way in the world if she has to, but she needs Morgan's help to find the truth. Morgan finally agrees, so long as that Sarah holds to her word that Morgan doesn't actually have to take care of her after this. But even now that we're on this plan, how is Morgan, a lawyer, going to get the authority to investigate in this case? Simple. Sarah lies for her to London, his fellow detective, Farrah Reyes, and the assistant DA, Emma Rockford, saying that David made Morgan his criminal defense attorney before he died. And as the state is charging him with suicide, she's going to have to contest that charge. This is ridiculous behavior. After all, no one actually gets charged with a successful suicide. It gets ruled on as a clerical requirement in a preliminary hearing, but Morgan's able to goad Emma into taking this seriously, setting the hearing to start later that day. That done, Sarah stresses that she wants to be part of this investigation, and Morgan decides that with her basic skills, she might as well serve as a paralegal. Trying to get more information on what could have happened, Sarah mentions that her father had started getting close to someone recently, a musician, a fact that Morgan also remembers, but she doesn't recall the name, only recalling that it starts with a P. She asks Sarah to look into it, but gets nothing, so she's going to have to turn to an expert. We flash back to the first time Morgan met Fran, her hacker contact who we heard from briefly in episode 0. At the time, they had been arrested for hacking into a government database, and Morgan didn't understand how this kid got arrested. Fran could have stolen whatever they wanted and then gotten away clean, but they didn't. Instead, they changed things in the database in a way that led the cops right back to them. Turns out, all Fran had done was fix their name in the government systems, something they couldn't do the legal way because that would require a guardian's permission. Morgan cut them a sweet deal. Because she actually pays them when they do work for her, they've had a long-term business relationship ever since.
Love that.
Me too. This time around, Fran is not interested, so Morgan has to jump from the carrot of money to the stick of, hey, your parole officer, I talk to him, maybe you should do what I want or I'll talk to your parole officer. Heading to the crime scene, David's dining room, we find that Reyes is already there. There are 2 chairs pulled out, where David and a witness sat. According to that witness, who will remain anonymous for now, they were sharing drinks when all of a sudden David fell over, so the witness called for help in the kitchen. David ended up dying in the hospital, which is strange since the medical technology this time is so advanced that nearly no one dies when they're actively getting medical attention. The current theory is that David poisoned himself with a designer drug, a compound so new that it couldn't be identified by the hospital, let alone have a countermeasure on file. The witness's cup and the bottle of whiskey they drank from are both clean, but David's cup has an inconclusive result, so there could have been a foreign substance in there. When they look into the kitchen, a blind spot in the apartment's camera surveillance, they find a salt shaker with a loose lid, but not much else. Once you're done investigating, Morgan runs into a new issue, getting through the crowd again, which has only gotten larger with the added time. This time around, she notices that many of them are holding signs with a shattered heart symbol on it, the symbol the media has given to the heartbreak killer. Morgan doesn't understand why anyone would obsess over a serial killer. She finds the whole thing repulsive. Those who've latched onto her crimes have twisted it to suit their own conspiracy theories, and Morgan gets into a debate with Sarah over the entire concept of serial killers, with Morgan arguing that they don't matter. They simply can't, not compared to the sheer scale of the harm that corporations are capable of. At the same time, Reyes, London, and Emma are also working their way through the same crowd, and Reyes can't stand that there are so many people who are making their jobs harder. More to the point, she hates being treated like she's the bad guy, since Reyes feels like cops are the only ones in the city trying to do the right thing anymore. Emma squashes that, though, pointing out that they only enact the law, and the law is often wrong. The two conversations begin to parallel each other, with Sarah asking Morgan why she bothers to do anything if the scale of their society makes actions meaningless. while Reyes quizzes Emma on why she works as a prosecutor, when that means that she will inevitably be on the wrong side. Morgan and Emma have the same answer to these twin questions. They do whatever it takes to win. If Morgan's actions are truly insignificant, then she can do her worst without a single ounce of guilt. If Emma's destined to wield her power against the innocent, then holding back is not going to save her soul. In this world, it is winner take all. These women are not okay, and I love them.
Yeah, I love that, like, in Phoenix, right, it's like, oh hey, there's a lot of Spock and Kirk going on between Nick and Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Why is
Edgeworth?
brain broken? Yeah, Miles Edgeworth. Like there's a lot of implied stuff here, and this one they're like, okay, so this is a romance visual novel, and these people are very gay and very not okay, and they're made for each other. Like I loved it in episode 0, like at the end of it, the way that like Emma shows up and it wasn't their case, and they just casually like almost solve it like right there in front of them, just like just as a flex. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is the good shit.
Yeah, I love that aspect. I also just love that these are two very different ethical and moral conversations happening, but they both have the same approach to them, which is such a not healthy way to handle these things, but it is just them. Like, I find it fascinating. Again, it's such a big contrast to someone like Edgeworth, that Emma is a character who knows that as a prosecutor, she's going to do the wrong thing, that she is going to hurt innocent people as a part of her job, and that's inevitable. And she is just like, well, yeah, but if I, like, hold back sometimes, I'm not suddenly going to, like, be a good person. That's not possible. So I might as well do it as hard as I can.
Yeah. At no point is it's like, I should do something else. In fact, there's I see every time I'm doing my job that there is a job that has my exact same skill set that's a good person. I'm not going to do that. I have to be the bad guy, and there's nothing I can do about that.
Phew. That was one hell of a scene.
It was so good. It was visually striking, too.
Oh,
it was so
it's
good.
so visually striking. I truly one of my favorite scenes in the whole game so far. I love it. But what do we do next? Oh, well, we're going to need some evidence, and we also need some closure. And the only place where we can get both is the morgue, where we meet the coroner who's assigned to David's body, Yumi Sato.
Mommy.
Yumi is perhaps the single coolest character design in this game, and I love her, and if I somehow met her in real life, I would be way too intimidated by her hotness to say anything to her.
Absolutely.
She has a fucking millipede tattoo that goes around her whole body.
Yeah.
Also, I'm gonna say this here instead of my mom's, because there's a good chance I won't remember. I didn't put it in my notes, but I'll say there are more extra scenes between cases again, and one of the extra scenes you can get between cases talks about Yumi bring up that she's trans.
Hell yeah.
And her complex feelings about how in this cyberpunk future, there isn't really a trans community anymore. Because basically, if you transition, if you're not really poor and you transition, you can go stealth with no effort.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. Anyway, Yumi immediately finds Sarah really cute, and after giving you some time to poke around her lab if you want to, she talks about the grisly details at hand. David died from respiratory failure in a way that's consistent with an overdose of a depressant, but there's nothing but alcohol in his initial talk screen. Yumi checked further and found an unknown component in trace quantities, one that she's confident is the true cause of death, but knows nothing about, despite even pulling some favors to check it against the confidential databases that are on file. After all of that, we have a chance to see David's body. Well, we as the player don't see him, but Sarah and Morgan do. Sarah struggles with the sight of her dead father, while Morgan doesn't say anything. Sarah notices this lack of a reaction in general and accosts Morgan over it when Morgan's trying to light a cigarette. This isn't the first time that Sarah's wondered how close Morgan could have possibly been to David with how little she seems to emote over his death. And when Morgan's frustration with her failure to snag a light boils over, Sarah points out that this whole time the cigarette has been in her mouth backwards. It's a real, it's raining right now, Full Metal Alchemist bit.
Yeah.
On the ride to Noble Electronics headquarters, Morgan broods about the city and the Megs, and how it's Whalefall and all that, good noir narration. And then Sarah intrudes, asking how Morgan and David met. The basic answer is that they shared a class, business ethics, back in university. There's a lot more to it than that, but fuck you. If you want to know all those nitty-gritty details, play the goddamn game yourself.
Because this is what one of the things, and like this happens a lot in Trails too, where it's like this scene could have not even been an email. This scene could have been a tweet, but the fact that it's not is also really, really good. But we're not going over the novel. We're covering the tweet here on the podcast.
Exactly. Reaching Noble Electronics HQ, we're impressed by the sheer size of it, the blunt power the company wields. So big and so mighty that those beneath its canopy call it the company with a capital C, because what other company even matters?
Yeah.
Our first stop is for getting Sarah registered, which takes us down to Quality Assurance, run by Dawes. He's a wet sock of a man, and because the showroom is his office connects to a literal factory floor, we get a chance to learn some more info about androids, including how their oxidizing fluid starts off red, but is then made pink by removing its impurities. Sure. And that they use a chemical called synatonin, which is literally synthetic synatonin, to make the digital computer brain capable of operating organic muscles. We also learn about the tenets, which are basically like the Asimov 3 laws of robotics, only people in this universe are able to pester their senator to add more, so now there's hundreds of them, and different androids are created with different sets of them that they have to follow.
Yeah, I thought that was really, really interesting from a world building standpoint, and I wanted to know more, but again, this game is just about how bureaucracy has completely ruined the very basic Asimov 3 laws of like don't fucking kill people, and now it's this big complicated bureaucracy thing, and that's the important part. But I'm like, no, like how does a subset work? What are the D&D rules of how this works?
The example they bring up that's I think a really telling thing is it's like, oh yeah, there was a group that like motioning like no, there needs to be a tenet saying that if there's equal probability of saving either a child or an adult and you can only pick one, that the ad has to pick the child. And then a different group did the same thing, but they're like, no, in that circumstance they have to pick the adult, and so they both got added as tenants that are completely contradictory. More to the point, when Dawes gets a chance to scan Sarah and register as Morgan's property, part of the process is a value estimation, entirely just for insurance purposes. These algorithms are made to like lowball you because they don't want to estimate your stuff as being worth that much, and they still say that Sarah is worth such an obscene figure that we never see it.
Yeah.
After that, we head to the elevator, which gets commandeered without our permission to take us up to an executive's office. The woman waiting there is Helen Young, who is the woman that David was meeting with on the night of his death. They're old friends who were just speaking about business, but she wants to be transparent about things with Morgan, even if their lawyers told her not to. The two of them were drinking cheap whiskey in red Solo cups because it's a tradition of theirs, and in her opinion, David had definitely killed himself. She even heard his last words, and they do sound pretty suicide-y. Okay, that was sad. Let's go do something happier, right? Friends come through with a lead on that mysterious musician, sending Morgan and Sarah out to a very out-of-the-way club. There is a brief scene with a dog that they run into that nearly attacks Sarah just because the dog doesn't like her robotic vibes, but apparently the dog's cool with Morgan, who gets along great with animals. We get to the club, and then Fran texts us a bit. Apparently, they respected Asher despite their somewhat opposite fields, partially because Asher grew up programming in Cube, a now-defunct programming language that is like some hardcore robotic shit, which is nothing like the web-based and easy-to-finagle stuff that everyone else is using these days.
Yeah, it is, in nowadays terms, which will go completely over Trish's head. He programs in Rust, and everyone else programs in JavaScript, and Fran loves the Rust about it.
I mean, I do understand at least the JavaScript part. I do know enough about programming to know that.
Yeah.
Like, I whenever they're talking about how all the modern programming languages that everyone is using is just running off of, like, web asset databases and shit, and, like, you don't actually have to know anything, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds right. You can talk to our musician friend, Isaac Porter, as soon as you want, or you can look around first. But either way, he's really not in the mood to talk about David. Morgan's able to talk her way into the conversation anyway, because she's good at that sort of thing. And we learned that David and Asher had been dating for months, but Isaac got tired of how distant David was as a partner, so they broke up a few hours before his death. Isaac's having a lot of emotions about that, which is extremely valid of him. But when Sarah tries to comfort him, it backfires hard. Isaac treats Sarah like we would a modern machine learning AI, which makes Sarah very sad. We don't have a lot of time left before the trial at this point, so we really only have time for one more destination, the basement. See, this and the lab are the only parts of David's house that aren't covered by the surveillance cameras that Noble built into the penthouse. But Morgan thinks there's more to it than that, and she's right. There are cameras down here, but they're on a private, separate system from everything else. Sarah manages to break through and find out that there is a hidden room that is behind Sarah's charging port / sarcophagus. It's password protected, 6 digits, and it has to be something that David would think only Morgan would know. It's Adonai, and trying a bunch of wrong things so that the game has to keep hinting to you that that's the answer more and more is very fun. I got it like second try, but
Did you guess Morgan the first try?
I think I might have, yes.
Yeah, because guessing Morgan is a really good scene, but I didn't catch that it was a numerical password for the painting, and I tried Morgan the very first time they asked you to type in a password. So I tried it when it didn't happen then, and then we get this one. They're like, "Oh, it'll be something only Morgan knows." I'm like, now this is the one that's Morgan. And then there's a special scene where Sarah's like, "Why'd you type in your name?" That wouldn't really be secure. It just like. Obviously, this is built for you. Why would it just be your name? It would have to be something only you know. Everyone would know your name if they have talked to you. This is stupid,
Everyone would know
Morgan.
that, Adonai.
Adonai,
Like,
Adonai.
Yeah, like, there's literally, if you do enough wrong guesses, there's eventually a scene where she's being like, Adonai, you're thinking a lot. Adonai, trying to get your attention, and it's just very funny. Anyway, the panic room they get access to has a lot of stuff in it. There's a platinum bar, there's David's employment contract with Noble Electronics, there's his birth certificate, forms that are signing Sarah over to Morgan, and there's a computer in here with footage of the basement cameras. Great, except not great. All that footage is encrypted, and even Sarah, an android who is built for hacking, is gonna need a lot of time to crack this. Like, hours and hours and hours. The game plan has become to stall this trial as long as we can until we get a chance to see what the fuck is on that footage the night of David's death.
The logic that she has that she brought up earlier is this whole thing hinges on the fact that he's off camera for 7 minutes or whatever. So if they can find camera footage of those 7 minutes, then it will prove that he didn't kill himself, assuming those 7 minutes don't show him killing himself or whatever. And so now that they have footage, they're like, this is literally our only shot. She does this really good Umineko reference for like 30 minutes where she's talking about flipping the chessboard and all of those things and making overt Umineko references. As a part of that, she like walks Sarah through like, if we come at this from prove he didn't commit suicide, we can't do anything. But if you flip it from the other, what's the only way we could prove it? We got to find him on camera. And so it's a very cool logical leap that I don't have to make because I guessed Morgan on a numerical password, and I'm glad that I did not have to make this leap.
On our way to the courthouse, Morgan asks why Sarah references movies all the time, and we learn that they're a huge passion of Sarah's, an interest of hers that David never gave her. When pressed for a reason why she's so into them, Sarah admits that she finds human interaction really difficult to decipher sometimes. It can be vague and context-driven, and it requires an ability to read social cues, all that sort of stuff. But in a movie, the actors are easy to read. They're easy to see. Every choice they make is deliberate. You're meant to be able to understand them, and so that helps. As Sarah explained this, we get a visual of a small girl, her silhouette made out against a shining TV screen. Why did that scene make me cry? How are the trials going to work in this game? Who killed David Asher? We'll answer 2 of those 3 questions next time. But for now, some memorable moments.
I love the there's one of the things you can read talks about the uncanny valley and how butting up against either the peak of the uncanny valley or whatever is like the biggest thing that corporations are afraid of or working on or whatever, and like it brings it up as like a sub thing a lot. And in most of the things after that, you see that Noble is trying really hard to use this propaganda about how a robot could do a blood transfusion, as look how good and important our robots are, put our robots in the military, but also robots are robots, not people, and so they don't get any rights, and that's important to remember. And so they're like pushing up against the uncanny valley while like relying on its existence to be able to do stuff, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I think the thing you're specifically referencing is it was calling it the other side of the like if you get to the other side of the uncanny valley, there on the other side there's a thing called Sullivan's Peak, which is this idea that like after a certain point, making things looking more human is no longer like uncanny. It becomes like too human in a way that is like truly like difficult to distinguish, and it gives you diminishing returns.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. This whole case is about these automated dependents, these robots and smart UIs and holograms, and the way they're treated in this society. And I'm gonna hold back a lot of my thoughts for our last episode about it, but yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about it because I think it's really fascinating.
Mm-hmm. I also love that if you hadn't picked up on the fact that Sarah acts autistic, there at the end where she's like, I have all of these problems with social cues, and these are ways that I like it because it's how I can navigate the fact that I'm not very good with social cues. And I'm like, okay, it's not just I'm seeing myself in this character, it's this character is autistic.
This character's autistic, and at least a little bit so is Morgan. There's so many fascinating bits in this first day of investigation where even if like Morgan started off really just like, I can't stand this fucking kid, she is growing attached just because they have a lot in common, and the stuff they have in common is mostly they're really neurodivergent.
Yeah. You brought up one instance of the running, not joke, but like interaction between the two of them being the same thing. And often because Morgan is autistic, and the way that you get through autism is by masking and code switching all the time. Sarah clocks every single time Morgan code switches to talk like a cop to the cops, and talk like a bro to the bros, and all of the talk like a corpo to the corpos, and she's calling it out each and every time, including the one time with the cigarette being backwards. And it's very
I love
good.
that bit. I love that bit so much. There, yeah. In fact, also at the hospital, she brings it up because she notices, she's like, "Oh wow, how did you get us? Like, you shouldn't have been able to. There's a bunch of people ahead of us to come see the morgue, but you got us down here ahead of everyone." And Morgan's just like, "Yeah, I just gave that guy what he wanted. Like, he wanted someone to listen to about his problems, so I listened, and I just gave him what he needed, and he helped us because of it. That's just how it works."
Yeah, very, very, very good. I also, since we're on Sarah, when you're investigating in the kitchen, Morgan is talking with, I think it's Reyes, who's there, and they're talking, and they're very much cop and attorney talking over each other, and they put Sarah's sprite in the middle, in between both of them, and she's trying to get a word in edgewise because Morgan spills the salt. She's like, no, you have to throw it over Morgan, throw it over your shoulder. Morgan, it's bad luck. You have to throw it over stop talking, throw the salt over your shoulder. And it's so good.
It's so good. I love that bit. Speaking of Morgan and Reyes, I didn't go into this in my notes because there's just so much that happens here that I can't cover because I know it's one of my favorite bits, but I'll talk about it in Mem Moms. And one of those is when Reyes first shows up, and Morgan's like, "Yeah, by the way, my friend made me his attorney, blah blah blah." And when Sarah reveals this, she does this by also telling everyone, including us, the player, Morgan's first name, because Morgan's her last name. It turns out her first name is Evangeline, and Reyes responds by just like truly like decide to like fuck with her really hard and just be like, wow, Evangeline, okay, your highness. And like what are you named after, a Christmas carol? And earlier, Ray, in that conversation, Reyes had done a pose where she like pulls her eyelid down at the bottom and
Uh-huh.
sticks out her tongue, and someone references like, oh, that's the signature pose of hit idol Kaguya. And
Mhm.
and Reyes is like, I don't know who that is. And even Morgan's like, you don't know who Kaguya is? Like, it's like someone saying like, yeah, I don't know who Nicki Minaj is.
I don't know who
Who's
Taylor
that?
Swift is. That's silly. Who's that?
And so when they get into this argument, as she's getting on her about the Evangeline thing, Morgan's in turn being like, hey, do you want me to get you some tickets to Kaguya so you can go with all the other 15-year-olds? Like, these
Uh,
two are just so fucky. Like, we talked about the Morgan Emma thing, and the Morgan Emma thing is just so it's Phoenix and Edgeworth. It is Light and L, but even more textually gay. Like,
yeah.
literally at the end of the conversation when Emma's like, oh yeah, I guess I will go set up a court thing for us, she literally says, it's a date. But then, like, Morgan and Reyes have an equally Yuri thing going on, that the vibe is just
Mhm.
very different, because it is just,
Yes.
like, these two piss each other off constantly, but there's also so much, like, passion to it and heat to it that's like, these two just need to make out really hard.
Right. Speaking of polyamory and making out, so I at one point took a picture of the screen because I had a cute redhead with freckles on screen, a cute shorty with a high ponytail and long brown hair, and a thick cutie with purple hair on the screen at the same time. And so I took a picture, and and Reyes was also there. Is I took a picture and I sent it to my polycule, and I was like, oh hey, look, it's us, because it's obviously the three of you, and I spiritually am a short lesbian with emo hair. It's not what I look like on the outside, but that's spiritually what it is. And so that was super cool and fun. And then we met Fran in the next scene, and Morgan refers to says like, oh, a lot of people have like a cool guy in the chair, whatever, whatever. And then what I got instead was a compulsive liar with a horrific sleep schedule and a crippling addiction to poor time management. And so I took a picture of that one, but scratched out liar and wrote lesbian. So what I got instead was a compulsive lesbian with a horrific sleep schedule and crippling addiction to poor time management. I was like, no, that one's me.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah,
It's
I
so good.
do. Fred's a very fun character. We
Mhm.
all so far only getting them in little bits and pieces, but every little bit is nice. I also, the whole bit. We talked about other aspects of the scene, but with the crowd scene, the whole aspect of how heartbreak is becoming a cultural force outside of Morgan's control in any way, shape, or form is so interesting.
Mhm.
Like, she was just like, oh, that's just a name the media gave me when I did my moitas. Oh, well. And the media is like, I've decided what this is.
Yeah.
Like, no, don't you know? Clearly, the Heartbreak Killer was working on my conspiracy theory. No, the Heartbreak Killer was fighting the corporation somehow with these random murders of women.
What I love about this game, gameplay wise, I might have brought it up a year ago. I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning. I have no idea what I talked about this game a year ago. But
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of games, they want the world to feel lived in. So they want a lot of lore and backstory and stuff you can interact with. And so if you play a game like, say, Final Fantasy 13, and you go into the town and you can't talk to the townspeople, it rubs you the wrong way, and you're like, no, I want to dig in, I want to sit here. But also, when you're playing the game, you want to do game things. You don't necessarily want to grind everything to a halt and go and read a lot of stuff. So this game solves it by, when you read something, you get a big full screen as you get a bunch of tokens for it. And so now I'm no longer just being a nerd and reading all of the lore because that's who I am as a person. I am now being a 100%er who goes and gets all of the tokens, and that makes it okay. And so I read literally every piece of text that we could this week, and I
Good.
love that.
There's also the reading comprehension quizzes, which if you do well after reading an article, you get more of those tokens. And those tokens
Mhm.
are also your health and your high score.
And one thing I thought was really cool, which I don't think they did last time, is you can get extra dialogue options if you've read a thing. And so there was one about, I think it was the one about Lobo that was talking about something, and somebody mentioned something related, and the choices come up as the ones you can pick, and then like slowly materializes in blue is like ask about Lobo or whatever. And it was so cool, and I felt so rewarded for reading way too much stuff at 1 a.m.
Yeah, no, it that is a mechanic. It technically, they give you the illusion of that in episode 0, like there is a point where there's a choice that unlocks because you read something, but in episode 0 you had to read everything. There wasn't a choice. Here there are choices where you can just go, oh, I don't want to read anything, I'll just skip to the main story stuff, and you can do that, but you are handicapping yourself both with not having as much health as you would have had, but also there are those choices that you just don't get. Like, they'll show up still, but they'll be grayed out and inaccessible.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, those are very cool. Also, gameplay wise, a thing I love here is so we've talked about this series has a lot of inspiration from Danganronpa and Ace Attorney. More Ace Attorney than Danganronpa, but definitely both of them. But one big thing that's different here that we finally got to experience that we did in episode 0, with how the investigation segments work here, is unlike those games, we don't get free reign. We aren't being like, I will move from location to location and as I see fit, and maybe I'll trip a flag in this location. That means the thing will happen in a different location, so I have to go back even though I already investigated there to go check it, which is a thing in Ace Attorney games, and like, it's sometimes fine.
Yeah. Oh, so we were talking on Bernard's How Was Your Week several weeks ago about Turnabout Samurai, and I do
yes.
love that case. However, I knew that the thing I needed to talk about was them falling onto the Iron Gate, and I clicked all over the Iron Gate, and I did not progress it. So I went and I used the universal hint system, and I looked it up, and I kept going through, like, give me more hints. I couldn't find it. Give me more hints. And I get all the way to the end, and it's like, click on the Iron Gate. And I'm like, I fucking did. And it is this like smallest little hitbox of it, and it drives me up the wall. And if I was here, it would have a big hodonk when you go over it, and it wouldn't let me leave until I found it. It would solve the one thing wrong with Turnabout Samurai.
I mean, I think there's other things wrong, but yes, that is definitely a big issue. But yeah, no. But yeah, here there isn't a free moving, oh, you can go where you want. It's like, no, Morgan is a character. She has made her decisions about what to do with her time and what is the smartest thing to do. We're following her logic and her whims here. And we're on rails in a way we aren't really on Ace Attorney or Danganronpa, but I think that's okay. It means that our story is more character focused and character driven, and it means we don't have to be in control as we stumble through an investigation we have no hope of doing without looking up guides.
Yeah, and they take a thing that Danganronpa does, but Danganronpa fixes more in 2 and 3 than they do in the first one, where in Danganronpa you can press triangle on your Vita and it'll show you all the things you can touch. That's just available for you all the time in Morgan's. So if you can't find where the hitbox for the Iron Gate is, you can click the magnifying glass in the corner and it'll just take you to the one you haven't clicked yet, and you can just do it. And it's wonderful. 10 out of 10.
Moving away from the conversation of gameplay stuff and towards characters, we got to talk about Sarah. We got to talk about Spearmint.
Oh, she's so good.
I love the Ace Attorney series deeply. I love a lot of the characters. I love a lot of the assistant characters. Sarah is the best Ace Attorney assistant, and
Absolutely.
I hate saying that because I love Trucy so much. I
Trucy's
love
so
Kay
good.
Faraday, but no, Sarah's where it's at, because she has, like, they picked out the most, like, a bunch of interesting pieces from all these other characters and put them together with a lot of their own original shit and have created a new character that fits this assistant role so wonderfully, and specifically for Morgan. Because, like, Morgan is such a calculating, socially conscious manipulator, and Sarah is the sweetest girl who's very intelligent on paper but horrible with people. Also, her sprites, oh my god, her sprites, they're so cute.
They're so good. I also, speaking of sprites and Sarah, there's a thing that this game does that is one thing that Danganronpa does very poorly, where when somebody is talking, it makes them go vroom, like with a rainbow effect around their sprite to show who's talking, to give you another visual cue. Because there were so many times when I was reading specifically Danganronpa 2, that was the one that had it the worst, where my guy is thinking aloud to himself. I'm like, you can't fucking say that to people's face. And then it changes to something else. I'm like, oh, he was talking internally and it wasn't completely obvious at the time. And this one, I love that it fixes that, and it's very good. But I bring that up because there's one time where Sarah's sprite, she has, whenever she's like autisming and wants to talk about things, but Morgan told her not to, her eyes get like super big and her eyelashes are huge. And there was one where she was talking right as she did that, and then she got the rainbow around her, and I'm like, this game's so pretty. It's so good.
Well, there's also specifically every character in the game has a drop shadow behind them, and they each have a drop shadow of different colors. Most secondary characters have a single color drop shadow, while more primary colors like Morgan and Sarah have colors that have a gradient effect. I think Sarah's goes from green to orange because those are her two colors. So. She has green hair with a lot of orange accents to her, which is a very unique color look, especially with her big white coat. Also on the note of her and her dad for that matter, this is definitely like I think a thing that is coded in with their characters, is not explicitly true as far as we know, but I will just share my feeling on this here. That being that like, so with the last name Asher and the combined with the skin tone and the fact that he taught her to call Morgan Adonai, all adds up into this like, it's easy to read the character as Jewish.
Yeah.
Which I think adds an extra layer, especially to the way that he's become the center of all these conspiracy theories. It adds a really anti-Semitic sort of, like, the way that all these people think he's behind everything, and he has all these evil secret plots going on, and it's just like, well, yeah, he's Jewish. Of course that's happening.
Yeah. And I love every time someone brings up another conspiracy theory or something, Morgan's, like, inside voice is like, yeah, he's just a dude. He probably was just like at home working. He just likes to do stuff.
What
he's just a guy.
She also just fucking hates it. So like there is I think a very important part of Morgan's characterization is she does care about privacy a lot in a way that most people in the future have been made to either not care or, you know, have no expectation of. And part of that is that she hates that her friend, because he is famous, everyone feels a right to speculate about him. And it's a similar thing to what she feels about how people are speculating about the Heartbreak Killer, aka her. She doesn't want everyone to be thinking about them. She thinks that's gross and weird, and it disgusts her on a visceral level.
Yeah, and there's one when you read the data pad about, I think it's about Kaguya, it might be about a different pop star, but they have maintained their anonymity.
Oh, it's a Kaguya, yes.
Yeah. And Morgan's response is like, good for her, or something like that, where it's like, yeah, nobody can do this. Let's see how long she lasts.
Oh no, like it wasn't Kaguya. It was this woman who's been called the most beautiful woman in the world. And I can't remember the character's name, but there's just some article about this woman who's become considered the most beautiful woman in the world. And yeah, and she specifically is like, good for her, because it's like, oh wow, all these corporations that have like ties to her now, like their stock prices are directly tied to like what she wears out of the house, and she's just, good for her.
Good for her.
Fuck this corpse.
Yeah, she does that character does all of her like media interviews in just like a white A-frame tee and Nike unbranded Nike shorts, and they're like, "Why? Who are you wearing?" She's like, "I can't be wearing anyone because it would tank the economy." And I'm like, "That's very good." I love that.
Yeah. Also, so I wrote in my memom's notes here, I expected Bernard originally to be here, so I have the word "to" here, but so I guess I just have to ask you, as someone who, as far as I understand, more of an appreciator of guys generally than me, what do you think about Dawes? I feel like Dawes is specifically a thing a lot of people like. That wet, again, I call him a wet sock of a man.
Yeah, but I don't know. He looks like somebody was trying to draw Makoto Persona 3 from memory and was racist at the same time.
Wow.
But I don't know if he's hot or not. We'll ask CW, who's here in the chat. We'll ask if CW thinks that they're hot.
And meanwhile, while you do that, I want to talk about Jess Starling, a character I love with all of my heart.
Oh, she's so good.
The executive assistant who gives off a big airhead vibe, and she is a bit clumsy, and maybe she is not traditionally smart, but she is more clever than people think, and she's just so delightful.
Speaking of her being clumsy, there's a running joke that every time she leaves to go do something for Morgan, she like bumps into something, and one of the times she breaks both heels on her high heels, and she doesn't say, it's okay, I have glue, which is what you would think a normal person who might be clumsy and breaks their heels all the time would have. She says, it's okay, I have extra, like, the heel part of the shoe that she can glue on. She's like, I have extra heels I can glue back on. It's like, you're so clumsy that you know your shoes are going to break, so you have some in your purse.
She also, a bit I did not go into, is that it is implied multiple times that she's developing a crush on Detective London.
Oh yeah.
And because of this, and just it being her name, she has become, a lot of people have been calling her Hetero Jessica based off that Tumblr meme. And I need her to date a woman that can make her respect herself more. People have been joking about, I've seen someone's actually done like a surprising amount of ship stuff with her and Morgan, and honestly it is kind of fun. I just enjoy a character like that. There's also a really fucked up bit of lore tied up with her where when you first meet her, every so often she takes a hit of an inhaler, and then afterwards she's much more like focused and intent, and it later turns out that's nothing to do with asthma or anything. Those are stimulants that corporate workers get, and they're like naturally tied to the workers' biorhythms, or not biorhythms. What they're like they have mods in their body that will connect with the inhaler and can be like, oh, you will prevent you from getting an overdose. Like it can track your use to make sure you don't get a habit forming thing going on. But like it's just like that's just a normal part of office culture that everyone's expected to be on stimulants constantly. Again, also this is a world in which people work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week.
One thing I loved is like right now in the real world, there's a lot of people that are like, here's all of the medical reasons why if we did a 4-day work week, and we don't even have to make it 4 10s, we did a 4-day work week, it would make everybody happier. And if you're thinking, well, how do we do stuff? You just give people different weekends off. It's okay. We can still make the world work if everybody just only has to work 4 days a week. It's not hard. And you can find a newspaper data pad where somebody's doing an opinion piece about how they should move back to a 6 day 10-hour work week instead of the 12 hours. It's like give people 2 hours back, and that's the big leftist push that people have in this shitty future, and I thought that was very good. Yeah, this game's so good.
This game is so good, and it's only going to get more fun. I'm so excited for us talking about the trial next week. There's a lot of fun, especially including the fact that we get a bunch of new mechanics that you get to see for the first time.
This one just popped into mind, speaking about how this game is using sci-fi to talk about current issues, and video games take a long time to make. So I know that they had started making this game about are androids people before rich people started to try to convince us that NVIDIA graphics cards are people. So I think absolutely believe that the addition of this is not early 20th century LLM tech. That shit fucking sucks and is stupid and is bad. This is future science AI, and it is different. OpenAI can suck my dick, and it's very good. I love it.
I do as well. I'm so excited to talk further, and yeah, no, that moment, it's also just so interesting seeing that come out with oh yeah, we haven't talked about Isaac at all. Like, what are your vibes on Isaac?
Oh, I was surprised he was gay when that came out. Like, I was not getting that at all from like his early things, and then he was like, "Oh, we were together." I was like, "Oh, that's cool and interesting." But otherwise, he looks like a punk rocker, because that's what he is technically. And speaking of which, I love that Sarah doesn't like the music they're playing over the sound system because she only likes early 21st century punk rock. And I'm like, hey, Sarah's a fan of my band. Sarah likes me.
Yeah, I also enjoyed that bit. I find Porter interesting. I also say I think Porter is probably, I would call him the most attractive man in this game, but I think there's a guy in episode 2 I find more attractive. But he's definitely up there. He's very hot. But he also, I don't know, I think the way he talks about his relationship with David and the perspective we get is very interesting. I'll have more to say on it in a later episode, but like the way he characterizes it, to me, I hear about it and I'm just like, because he sees it like, ugh, he just wasn't interested in me, and I should have gotten the hint that he didn't, because they met because David was coming into the club and going on dates with people, and those people would leave and he wouldn't seem to care. And he's like, well, he should have noticed that he doesn't seem to care if people pull away from him.
I felt that scene so hard because
Yeah.
I am of the persuasion of I am a Stardew Valley character where the heart level can never go down. So once you are my friend, I will take a bullet for you if I haven't seen you in 72 years. And that's
Exactly.
just
I'm with
how
you.
it fucking works. And so if I like right now 4 days out of every week I have literally nobody here in the house with me. I am just sitting there working, making programs on my computer, and if I get really into the thing that I'm doing, it'll be like 12 hours and I'll realize that my phone had died at like 6 p.m. and I hadn't texted anybody back. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot the world existed. And so seeing their relationship being like, he kept forgetting the world existed, and then I talked to him and he wouldn't even bring it up. Like, why didn't he have the balls to tell me he wasn't interested? I'm like, no, he was interested. He really likes to code cute robot girls. That's all it is. He just wants to make a cute robot girl. He doesn't not like
he
you.
wanted to make it. He wanted to make his daughter. He just wanted to make a daughter. Yeah. I won't. I'm not gonna say anything except I think you and I we're thinking along similar lines. It feels very relatable, David's whole way of handling relationships.
Yeah. One thing that I also felt in David while playing the game, I didn't think like, oh, I'm David. And now that I'm having to talk about it, I'm like, shit, I think I'm David. But is when Isaac was talking about how they met, at all of Isaac's shows, David would be there with some different girl who he
or
wouldn't give
guy.
the time
It was
of,
other different people. Yeah.
different people who want to give him David wanted to give them the time of day, and they would almost always, I got to go to the restroom, but go out the front door of the club and never come back. And David never seemed phased. And so Isaac is like, why do you come here all the time and you bring these dates and don't go anywhere? And he's like, because I like your music. And I'm like, yeah, I love movies. I cannot go to the movie without someone to go with me. And right now, the people who want to go to movies with me are 9 years old, so I cannot go watch almost any movie that I want to see because I don't have anyone to do it with. And so, oh yeah, I took these people on dates because they wanted to date me because I'm rich, but it's because I can't go to a punk concert by myself. That's stupid. You can't do that.
I can't wait for you to find out more about David Asher. He's such an interesting character that we only know posthumously, and it's so interesting when we get the little hints of Morgan's relationship with him. And what does it mean? Like, because when you play the first episode and you get the reveal of Morgan being a serial killer, and then immediately getting rubbed in your face, oh yeah, by the way, this person was basically your best friend, and someone who, even if she's showing it in more oblique ways, that meant a lot to her. And what does this say about who Morgan is?
Yeah, but I want to stop talking about this episode so I can go this part of the episode so I can go play more of the episode because I get to do gameplay next time. So
Good idea.
Let's wrap it up. So if you like what you heard today, you can head on over to www.rpgbook.club, where any and all donations will help us offset the cost of running this show. If you decide to donate $1 or more a month, you'll become one of our gadabouts and also get access to our bonus feed, which is filled with after shows for every episode, as well as bonus seasons of the show, such as Tales of Podcastia and the Escape Pod. If you up your donation to $5 or more each month, you become one of our warriors and get your name read at the end of every episode, a little like this. Shoutouts to Dragonslayer19, Freddie Rodriguez, and Jfro Prime. And then if you really, really love us and you want to be one of our luminaries, you can donate $20 or more a month and get a short one-sentence shoutout or advert read at the end of each episode, a little like this. Shoutouts to El Tantavi, who wants you to check out Aftermath.site, a worker-owned reader-supported news site covering video games, the internet, and the cultures that surround them. Shoutouts to Kale Dranas, who says to check out Podcasters Assemble. It's a documentary-style, crowdsourced movie hype and rewatch podcast. Every season, podcasters from around the world are assembled to review, reminisce, and riff on a popular franchise. And then shoutouts to Vimk, who says, I'm allowed to apply for the military, Captain. And then shoutouts to It's Claire Time, who says, for you TTRPG nerds, check out Fabula Ultima. I'm not affiliated with the game, I just think it's neat. For RPG Book Club, I've been Sam.
And I'm Trish.
Toodaloo, folks.
Bye-bye.
right? Is there anything else before I leave?
No.
No, unless you want to give me a clean I'm Bernard to throw at the end to throw people off.
No.
Okay. Bye.